All right, standing here in the American Top Team gym with one of the trainers out here, former MMA great, Dean Thomas. First of all, Dean, let me ask you, you're an MMA legend yourself. What's it like with all this talent in this gym?
It's incredible coming to the gym every day. I mean, some days I'm kind of blown away. I'm looking at these guys like Will Brooks, Dustin Poirier, Daniel Strauss getting it in, and just like, it's weird for me because like, I don't really see myself as ever being that good as these guys are today. I don't know if I was, but it's just weird. The energy is so good in here sometimes, and today's one of those days because you came at a good time.
Well, yeah, you kind of took my next question away. You know, back in your prime, back in the, I guess it'd be the dark days of the UFC, when you were doing your thing. How would that Dean Thomas would have done against these guys? I mean, I guess you kind of just answered that, though.
Well, it's hard to say how I would have done against these guys. I mean, the game has evolved so much. You know, I first got started in this sport in 1998 and carried it on till 2013. And I felt like I was doing fine up until then, but like I'm looking at them today, you know, these guys like, again, you know, Mirsad Bektik and, you know, just some of the guys you never even heard of are just so talented. And it's hard to see. And I think that's what separates the guys from today from when I was coming up, is that the general level is so high. At the top of the game, I felt is still kind of comparable, but the general level of each individual is really high, and it's something that I never had to deal with.
MMA has exploded over the last 10 years or so, but what was it like? What was your environment like when you were training compared to what you see here? I mean, obviously the talent, but just the environment itself, how much better is it now compared to what you were going through? And what were you going through? What kind of training did you do?
Well, back in the day, you know, up until like maybe 5 to 10 years ago, you couldn't get it all in one place. So you had to go to a boxing gym if you wanted to work with good boxers. If you wanted to wrestle, you had to wrestle at a high school or at a college. Jiu-jitsu had their own places, so you kind of had to do a lot of traveling. Nowadays, it's pretty standard that you can go to one individual spot and get it all. So that's the biggest difference between training now and training before. And it just makes it so much more convenient. So like you can come to American Top Team and you have world-class wrestlers, you have world-class jiu-jitsu guys, world-class strikers, whether it be boxing or kickboxing. So the whole experience now is a lot easier to do.
Do these guys get, how often do they get temperamental towards each other? I mean, you have all these top-level fighters in here. Surely they got to go at it here and there.
You know, it gets kind of crazy sometimes. You know, every once in a while somebody get a little heated. And we were just talking about it the other day, you know, they take a shot, get a little heavy with the shots, and it can get a little heated sometimes. And it's kind of bad, though, because sometimes they're high-level guys, and you don't want your high-level guys getting punched. It's like Geno Smith getting punched on the Jets. Like, you don't want your starters getting in these altercations.
Do you wish that were you born too soon? I mean, do you wish you were fighting in this day, or are you happy with fighting back when you did?
Nah, you know what? You know, I was happy being one of the bricklayers and they call me OG now. It's crazy. Like I go to the shows and they refer to me as the OG. I'm happy with what I did in my career. I lasted a long time. I didn't take a lot of punishment. I missed out on some good opportunities that these guys are getting now that I never will have the opportunity to get. But the fact that I'm still involved in the sport, I'm training the guys, I'm helping them get better. I see things differently that they can't see. So I'm happy with where I'm at right now.
How did you enjoy making the transition? Is coaching something you like doing in compared to fighting?
Well, the thing about coaching is that even though I was fighting, I always had to supplement my income. So I've always had school. So teaching the sport of mixed martial arts came natural to me. Coaching is a little bit different because you anticipate your athletes to have a certain level of knowledge as opposed to teaching somebody from the start. So you anticipate them having a certain level of knowledge, so now it's just clean up. I do a lot more studying the fights now, so even when I'm watching fights, I'm constantly analyzing different positions, trying to stay ahead of the curve, and I have a scouting company. That was one thing I did. I started scouting fights, so you know, just analyzing, breaking fighters down, breaking situations down, and just taking every little detail. You can't let nothing pass in this game these days.
Well, you kind of hinted a little bit at the talent here, even the lesser-known guys. So I mean, there's a lot of talented guys in here, obviously, but give me one guy that's up and coming that you got high hopes for in the future.
One guy, I'd say our most promising guy, I think really, especially with the division that he's at and his skill set and what he possesses, I'd say Mirsad Bektik can be a guy to look out for. I mean, to me, I can compare him to what GSP did to the welterweight division. I think he has the ability to do that to the featherweight division.
And then on the other side, Walt Harris is very disappointing. What's his problem, and why is he even train here?
Walt Harris, you know, me and Walt, where is Walt? Is he around here somewhere? Yeah, Walt, yeah. Well, Walt, you know, I love Walt to death, but you know, I gotta light a fire under his behind sometimes because it's kind of hard to communicate with him. And the easiest way to communicate with him is following him on Instagram where he's hanging out with his little buddies. But I got to be able to get a hold of Walt because, you know, I think the world of Walt. I think he has a lot of talent. His athleticism is unmatched for a heavyweight. But getting him in here sometimes is the problem.
All right, then last thing, one thing boxing fans, we have a lot of, obviously, boxing fans that watch the channel. You, with Mayorga, we talked about a little bit earlier. First of all, did you see his last, I don't know, the fight with Mosey, whatever you want to call that, and what do you think about his antics before that with the cigarette and grabbing Shane's girlfriend's butt and all that?
You know, Mayorga would do anything to get attention on him. I remember the press conference when I was going to fight Mayorga, I could hear him from the street. I was in the building, I could hear him talking garbage from the street. So he's going to do whatever it takes in order to get to sell that fight. And you know, you got to commend him for that because he's good at it. But eventually it gets kind of tiresome. It's kind of like, man, will you just get out there and fight? And he's getting too old to be talking as much as he is. I mean, he's got to be in his 40s somewhere, closer to 50, whatever it is. But he's getting too old to be talking so much. So.
But he dropped you with a punch there.
Well, that's what they say, but I can rest assured to you that he did not drop me with that shot. It was a shot that grazed my lip, and then I changed levels to shoot a takedown. So it may have looked like I went down, but.
All right, if you claim that, we'll buy that. How would that fight have turned out if it had happened?
Well, you know, it's a few years removed from now, but I was going to take him down and punish him. I still juggle with the idea of whether I was going to finish him early or whether I was just going to beat him up, then let him up and box with him a little bit. But either way, it would have been one of my easiest fights in the last 10 years.
Very last question. Why do you spell your name wrong? I've always been interested in where that came from.
You know, everybody asks me about the spelling of my name, spelled D-I-N, it's pronounced Dean, but my only justification is that my mother and father did a lot of drugs back in Philly, back in the 70s. So, that's it.
All right, Din, I appreciate it, and nice talking to you, and we'll see you down the road. Thanks.